Hey, thanks for tuning in. Real quickly, before we get started, I'd like to thank my friends at Tattoo SEO for making today's episode possible. Tattoo SEO specializes in search engine optimization for tattooers and tattoo shops, so they help you to come up higher in organic online search results for people looking to get tattooed in your area. That's kind of a generic explanation. What they can really do is to help put the clients who are looking for your type of work in front of you. So whether you are a street shop trying to just bring generic business through the door, or a single person private studio focused on large scale custom tattooing, they can drive the customers looking for what you do directly to your door. Now, something else that Tattoo SEO does that I think is invaluable and really sets them apart from any competition is that they can promote you for short periods of time wherever you may be traveling. So if you're like me and you travel to do guest spots or to work at tattoo conventions, they can promote you leading up to the actual event that you're working to ensure that you're actually tattooing at the show rather than twiddling your thumbs and watching everyone else tattoo. I'll give you a real life example. So last year I was offered a booth at a show in Arizona about 3 weeks before the show was actually taking place. So I wanted to go and tattoo, but I hadn't promoted myself for that show leading up. So I had no clients in that part of the country and didn't want to sit around and not tattoo. So I reached out to my buddy Tony Sink at Tattoo SEO and asked if they could help to promote me in the short period of time left leading up to that event. And lo and behold, I was booked solid by the time the event got there. I tattooed all weekend and it was a complete success. So whether you're going to do a week-long guest spot in Southern California, doing a tattoo convention in New York City, they can help to promote you for those periods of time leading up to the events. That is a huge, huge benefit for working with Tattoo SEO. So I definitely recommend that you give these guys a shot by clicking the link below and signing up. You will get 50% off of your first month if you mention that you heard about them on Fireside. Thank you guys for supporting what we do and enjoy the episode. Legit. Hey, welcome to the Fireside Tattoo Podcast, the official podcast of the Fireside Tattoo Network. I'm Jake. This is Scotty Munster. Man, thanks for coming on. I'm so glad. I've wanted to get you on the show a handful of times. I see you at shows. We travel the same circuit a little bit, and you tattoo a lot when you're at shows, though.
Yeah, I'm usually busy.
Yeah,
pretty much all the time. So.
Right. And that's the trick with a lot of most of the time the people that you want to talk to. The reason you want to talk to them is because they're good tattooers, so they're always tattooing. And that's but it's awesome. This week you're just selling prints.
Yeah.
Not tattooing.
Yeah, I got asked to come out and judge. So first time for this. So hanging out.
It's not your first time judging, though, is it?
No, not my first time judging, but my first time like actual judging a show, like being one of the guys. So I've kind of sat in for tattoo of the day here and there and stuff like that, but never like here's your job. So
yeah. So you're judging every competition all weekend long.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's exhausting.
I'm stoked to see some fun tattoos.
Yeah. I've gotten pulled into judging a handful of times, and once they have you on the stage, they don't want to let you go.
Yeah.
And so you end up there for like 6 or 8 hours.
Yeah.
And by the end, it's like, man, I don't even care if that tattoo is great.
Yeah. I think we'll get there pretty quickly.
Right. Yeah. By the way, we're at the Roughrider Tattoo Expo in Fargo, North Dakota. Our first ever trip to Fargo. I haven't seen a wood chipper yet, but I was promised a wood chipper. I haven't seen one. So here's what there's a handful of things I'd like to talk to you about.
Yeah.
But one of them is, so I taught a seminar on Thursday leading up to this that I called Find Your Style, and I feel like there are a lot. You've got a very unique style that people recognize what you do, and so I feel like people steal tricks. Especially up-and-coming tattooers steal tricks from more established tattooers without having a real understanding of why they're what the trick is, how it falls within the principles of drawing, like if that was a trick with edge or if that was a trick with shapes or values or whatever else.
Yeah.
So you work in a style of tattooing that a lot of people do really well, but your tattoos still stand out. Do you have any advice on how to develop a style that is uniquely your own? Like, what was your process? What was your background?
I think for me, I always naturally kind of drew the way I do. So it was just kind of refining that. And over the years, it was like, okay, I really like all of these different artists. I really like Aaron Kane.
Yeah.
I really like Mark Ryden. I really like, tattooers and just artists. So, and it was like I mentally took a approach to break it down. Like, okay, what is it about this Aaron Kane tattoo that I really like? And tried to. Now, I would never share these drawings with people, but I would sit there and replicate what he was doing on my own time. And just try to, like, why is that so cool? What about that do I really like?
Yeah.
And then I would throw that drawing away, of course, and just figure out how to do that in my work. And, of course, it's going to look like Aaron Kane a little bit. And not that I could ever make my stuff look that cool, but it would have a little bit like, yeah, dude, I know where you got that, without trying to directly rip him off.
Yeah.
So, and it's just taking all those different artists and combining it and doing it my way, and then allowing myself to be influenced by the things around me, like things I'm into, antiques, anything vintage, anything kind of religious. I grew up kind of in a religious setting, so I let that kind of make its way into my work because it's me, and that way it's gonna be different than the way Kelly does it or the way Timmy does it or whoever does it. But I just kind of let the things around me influence me and really take a mental approach to that too. Like my cat makes his way into my work, just simple things like that, Minnesota, winter, fall, things that I really like. So, yeah.
Yeah. I love that. So you will do master studies, copies of people just to see what you can pull from them.
I found myself doing that early on in my career, more so than I do now. But I was definitely like, I redraw a Mark Ryden piece or try to the face or whatever, and like, what do I like about that? What's making me like attracted to that style? So, yeah, definitely.
I was the same way, man. In the late 90s, early 2000s, I was introduced to Mark Ryden, and I fell so deep into that rabbit hole. And I used him as an influence for almost everything that I did.
How could you not? Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
I love when people like Mark, and there's a guy, John Curran. Do you know John Curran? That does. They really have a classical kind of painting style. And they have such a. They're such draftsmen, and then they can like apply it to these imaginary, compositions, and it looks so believable.
Right.
I love it so much.
I love it too.
Yeah.
And then there's also an element of traditional tattoo in my work too. Like I've always had a real pepper black in my work, and line work too. For a little season, you get tricky, and I went away from it and then come back to it because I just think that, tattoos should look like tattoos in the end. And so you mix that into my style too, and that makes it different than like the painters that don't have that tattoo influence in their work too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me, what was your drawing background before you got into tattooing?
Yeah, just pretty much self-taught.
Okay.
Never went to college, just high school classes, art classes, and then my grandfather taught me to draw at a young age. Just early memories of sitting on his lap watching him draw a rabbit or something. I don't think he was directly trying to like, I'm going to make an artist, but it sparked something in me, and I just always continued it. So just kind of drawing on my own, and just blue collar working after high school, and eventually started getting tattooed and bring in my own drawings to have somebody look at. And one of the guys was like, dude, you should be a tattoo artist. So started thinking about it and slowly made my way into it. So
what year was that?
Around 98.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been at it for about 20 years.
Yeah. So you witnessed the same kind of transition that I did with what a crazy
so glad I did too.
Yeah.
I always feel like I got in at the perfect time.
That was the perfect time.
Because you got the tradition. You learned like a real apprenticeship. You got all that. You made your own needles. You scrubbed tubes, everything. And now to where it is. So pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is, man. I love it. I always treated tattooing as this temporary gig until I became a successful painter. I always thought one day I would be a painter, and now I look at it and I go like, there's no way I could make like my favorite painters don't make the living that I make as a tattooer.
Yeah, and I feel like that's my end game too. Eventually, but it's when maybe I can't sit there and do a 6-hour tattoo anymore. where, you know, if I'm working on a painting, I can get up every hour and walk around, walk outside, you know, play with my cat, whatever.
Yeah.
So eventually I would love to get to where I'm just a painter, but, you know, is it realistic? I don't know, but I'll keep pushing for it. So.
Yeah. So are you preparing, do you do a lot of traditional media, or do you draw a lot digitally? I don't know why I assume that you're mostly digital, just based on your style.
No, I paint with acrylic,
Really?
always acrylic, and kind of made that my game, especially after seeing people like Crayola, just strict acrylic guy.
Yeah.
So, I've kind of learned to paint after, you know, learning to tattoo. So. Slowly picking away at it, always learning new techniques just on my own, and just trying to find my own thing there. So yeah.
So you were a tattooer before you were a painter? Hey, Sean, will you turn my audio up a little bit? I'm hearing this dude on the yeah, so much better. Thank you. So did your I assume your tattooing had a big influence on your painting?
Yeah, of course it did, and it's the same imagery. Yeah. I try to just give it a little bit softer feel. You know, I don't have to do an outline anymore when I paint. I can get real crazy, and I don't have to worry about white holding up or yellow or whatever. So it's been kind of a nice way to just kind of get away from tattoo a little bit, but keep the same imagery. So, and it's also rad that, you know, I don't have a boss when I paint. You know, I don't have somebody saying like, dude, I'm paying you by the hour. You got to get this done. And it's just my ideas. And the cool thing about painting is many people have seen my paintings and said, hey, man, would you tattoo that on me? Right. So that's the best of both worlds because it's like all me at that point. I don't have to worry about anything. Just do this. So.
What percentage of your work comes from that? Because I mean, you've got a very, like I said earlier, you've got a very established style that people recognize. What percentage of the tattoos that come in the door have a preconceived idea that you draw for, as opposed to things that you have already prepared and they just want a Scotty Munster piece? So
at my shop, you know, I'm in St. Cloud, Minnesota, so it's a pretty small place. I do a lot of just walk-in tattoos.
Really?
And, you know, partly my fault.
How big is that town?
It's around 80,000 in the area. So partly my fault and partly my design because I'm trying to switch to painting as much as I can. So I'm trying to make that my thing more so than push my tattoo at home. Now, of course, I'm stoked to do my style of tattooing at home, but I'm not stuck on it like I used to be when I was younger. When I was younger, it was like, I got to make my style, I got to make my name. And now I'm like, I love to tattoo. I love to tattoo a little rose on somebody or a little name. I don't care. It's great. I love it. I love that I can do that to pay my bills, and then I can paint on the side and do what I really love. So when I'm on the road, which, you know, traditionally is quite often, that's when I really notice that, you know, people on the road want what I do. Where in this small town, I'm not really the guy to go to.
Isn't that interesting?
People know of me or whatever, like, oh, he tattoos the Minnesota Vikings or whatever. But it's not like, I want a creepy Halloween piece from you.
Really?
I'm kind of the weird guy at home. So, yeah, there's other tattooers in the shop that are way busier than I am at their style. So. And that's partly my fault, too, because I don't push it at home, you know? So,
I think that will comfort so many of our viewers.
Yeah, I think that's what – it took me, you know, 20 years to realize, hey, you could just do a good job at a tattoo. You're a tattoo artist. You don't have to, you know, be doing this crazy sleeve every day. And for me, I'm from a small town, so it's okay for me. It pays my bills. I love it. And
do you consider relocating, or you're
no.
good?
I'm good where I'm at. I think I've got a 13-year-old daughter too, so I want to be wherever she is. So if she moved to Florida tomorrow, I'm moving to Florida tomorrow. But I think, you know, it's fine where I'm at. I really like the guys I work with, and I'm okay with it.
Do you own the shop you're in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So how many artists?
There's 7 of us.
Oh, so it's a decent-sized shop.
And we have a piercer, too. So,
okay.
Yeah, it's a small little shop, but, yeah, we all stay busy. And it's a little college town, so stay busy enough.
You know, the thing that I find, I'm in a similar situation. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, and it's a bigger place, you know, 1 million+ people. But in Memphis, I focus a lot on larger scale work, but when I come to places like this, people don't know me outside of just if they know that I'm maybe the podcast guy.
Yeah.
So I end up doing smaller stuff whenever I'm out places. And what I find is that I need to be doing that more often. Someone comes to me for lettering or for a super clean kind of traditional piece, and I realize like, oh, I'm no good at that.
Yeah.
I mean, everything I do is I get 5 chances to layer over it and build it, and like I'm not good at making like one-shot tattoos anymore. So it's awesome that you are that you're still doing that at home.
Oh yeah, and I mean it wasn't always this way, but yeah, I've kind of like made it like it's fun for me.
Yeah.
I just enjoy tattooing. So, and some of those little tattoos are the hardest tattoos we're gonna have to do.
Yeah,
you got one shot to make this nice little line, and you get a little bit of wobble in it, it's done.
Yeah.
You know? So it's a way to kind of challenge myself at something different. But still tattooing, so
yeah,
I like it.
Yeah. I run into it fairly often where I'll get I stay pushed out a little ways at home, and I'll have people that are like, man, my daughter was born, I want her name and a beautiful script, and I want it to be perfect. I'm willing to wait however long it takes. I'm like, man, you know what? I'm the worst person to do that. You should do it to a walk-in shop, and they will knock that out of the park.
Right. Yeah, or we have this other guy at the shop that's way better than that, and they're like, what?
Right.
I thought you were the best.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm the best at like sneaking up on tattoos.
Right.
I'm the worst at making deliberate tattoos.
So yeah, it's training our customers into, you know, just because I'm good at this one creepy little thing doesn't mean that I'm good at everything.
Yeah.
And luckily, in my career, I've been able to do kind of everything. So started in a street shop and Cherry Creek Flash all day, and then slowly I worked my way into some portraits, and then. But it's all.
Did you
kind
do
of
some
influence.
realism for a while?
Oh yeah,
really?
Yeah, I did a lot of it. So
did you become pretty accomplished at it?
Yeah, I think I can still do a nice portrait. I try to stick with black and gray if I'm going to.
Yeah.
But we have another guy at the shop that's amazing at it, so I let him mess with it. But every once in a while, I do.
Do you feel like, so that's not something you do all the time, and you're known for kind of the new schoolish creepy stuff that you do. Do you look at guys like, say, David Vega or in color, Nico or Steve Butcher or whatever, and you go like, oh, that got out of my, like, suddenly the bar was raised, and if I don't do that all the time, I probably shouldn't do it at all.
Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying, and at times I'm like, man, should I have stuck with that style? And because, the general public really gravitates towards that because it's something they can relate. Like, hey, that looks like Batman or, whoever. Well, where my style is definitely a niche. Not everybody wants a creepy little pumpkin on them. At times I always struggle with that. But in the end, I'm happiest that, I'm doing my own thing. I'm kind of helping. I feel like I'm contributing to the overall body of work being done in tattooing right now, and that makes me happy. So I feel like I'm doing something like add my little piece to it. So
where did the creepy Halloween stuff come from? I wanted to get into your Halloween costumes that you put on your page. You really go next level on Halloween.
Oh yeah, we love it. I've always kind of been drawn towards Halloween, and not necessarily the bloody, gory style of it. I just like the innocent, like dressing up for Halloween, like kids dressing up. It totally makes my day. So me and my girlfriend, we go to Disney World every year in October, usually not on Halloween, but the week before or so. And the first time we went, we dressed up for a little party called Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. So we dressed up for it. We go trick-or-treating out there.
It's so much fun.
It's
they do
great.
the big parade around for it?
Yeah.
Oh, that was awesome.
We love it. So
are you doing that this year?
Yeah, every year. Yeah. So we're working on our costumes right now. I can't tell you what they are.
All right.
Yeah, every year we do it, and we love it. And we've just kind of stepped up our game every year, and people like it too. So we're like, all right, what can we do next year? So
and you do that just you and your.
Yeah,
the
that's
penguin
a tough
was
one.
Yeah, the penguin was. Make sure to drop the penguin in on this episode. Yeah, it's next level.
Yeah, we wanted to do that from like year one, and every year we're like, it's too ambitious. We can't do it. So, and then last year we're like, yeah, all right, let's make it happen. So, building all of those costumes is crazy. Sitting in our hotel for 4 or 5 hours is crazy.
Yeah, and.
Yeah, we do, and we fly with it. And so we've got suitcases for our bags that are small, and then our costumes are like these huge cases. So
that's
bring
awesome.
an
And it's just you and your daughter?
Yeah, just me and my girlfriend.
Oh, you and your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. What a great, like,
it's super fun.
Yeah.
It's like making memories, so we love it.
Yeah. That's so cool. So does your daughter get involved? I mean, is she a Halloween fan like
Not
you are?
super stoked on it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
it's
too bad.
It's kind of a bummer, but
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever she wants to do. But
yeah,
I try to influence her that way, but she's just like, yeah, I don't know about Halloween, who I'm going to be this year, and that's fine too. But
yeah.
it'd be way cool.
My son picks, like, he's one that just goes to we walk through the costume store and he just picks whatever is coolest to him at that exact moment in time, you know?
Yeah. And that's fine too for
Yeah.
kids. Like, that's super cool.
Yeah. So you mentioned that, like I was saying earlier, I feel like that I've crossed paths a lot, and I've wanted to get you on the show, and it, for whatever reason, it's just never worked out. But this last year, now that you mentioned it, I guess I haven't seen you at all at any shows. You intentionally took a year off of travel?
Yeah. I kind of took a step back for a minute just because, we get caught up in the same routine all the time. And I just want to take a little time away from conventions and traveling and say, like, why do I do this?
Yeah.
Am I just going out there to, see everybody, or why do I do it? And yeah, part of it is that, just seeing all my friends, and you don't get to see each other, and even though it's brief moments, just saying hi or whatever, it's worth it to me. So, and then going out and saying, like, I want to contribute to tattooing, or we often complain about what's wrong with tattooing right now, and I don't like conventions anymore, they suck. Well, I can be part of the answer or the solution instead of being part of the problem. So I like to go out and kind of give what I do to it and hope to contribute to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I took a year off to kind of chill out, do some home projects, and next year I'll get back to it. So
yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Yep.
So next year
Yep.
you plan to get back to it. And you'll come
Absolutely.
back refreshed, you feel
Yeah.
like. You think it was a good move.
Yep, I do.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll add something new to it. So, yeah.
It's really interesting to me that in Minnesota you're not doing pumpkins all the time. And for me that would be I would just feel like I had to constantly be on the road to continue to explore what I'm already interested in.
Yeah, and I think because I paint quite a bit, it's allowed me to, like, stay with what I do and not worry about the tattoo thing. Like, I kind of know what I do as far as tattooing goes, and I don't know if I'm going to reinvent myself all of a sudden and, like, whoa, he's doing this, but I definitely want to keep pushing myself. So I think just in terms of making my tattoos read better, making longevity, things like that, that's where I want to keep getting better. But my style, I know what I want to do.
Yeah.
So I can just keep painting that stuff when I'm not on the road and even at home.
Yeah.
But I do get to do some of it. Just it's not
like it is on the road.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about it until just now, but being in a smaller town and tattooing for 20 years in that town, you probably get the opportunity to see how work is holding up over a long period of time.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. What have you? Can you pull any? So I don't know if I mentioned it before, but a lot of our viewers are 0 to 5 year tattooers. They're just figuring it out.
Sure.
So if you had to nitpick something that was a problem for you early on that you've learned by seeing tattoos age, any ideas on?
I think for me early on, of course we were dealing with machines that weren't great back then, or I didn't get my hands on, and the people that showed me how to tattoo didn't really know everything that I know now. So it was a struggle just getting good machines where I feel like, okay, I'm doing a good job with this.
Right.
Well, I think just readability back then, contrast in a piece. But I was all over the place trying new things. It seems like people are way more focused at what they want to do now.
Yeah.
I see new tattooers like 1 year, and they're like, they've got a style, they've got it figured out, and it's like, wow.
Yeah, good for you.
I mean, that's cool. Like that tattooing has gotten to that place where you can just come in and do that style.
Yeah.
Where back then I didn't have a choice. I had to do Cherry Creek Flash all day or whatever it was, and just doing little tattoos. Well, now you apprentice, then bam, you're doing sleeves, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just so different now.
Yeah. But we were talking about Nick Baxter earlier. He sent me a thing a few weeks ago that was like a little meme that was like, first year dot work tattooer, books closed till 2030. Yeah. Like, yeah, man, that's exactly right.
Yeah, that's the reality of our business now. And love it or hate it, you got to move with it. So
yeah, Yeah, and that's part of why this seminar that I did earlier the other day, Find Your Style. I think that it's an unnecessary pressure that's put on up-and-coming tattooers to identify with a style super quickly because they feel hyper-competitive with everyone around them.
Yeah.
They're like, I guess I'm a neo-trad guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, maybe you're some version of that, but, man, let's back up. And, like you were just saying, what can I pull from Mark Ryden? What can I pull from – like, I personally love I love people that don't hide – I love people that are great draftsmen, but they don't hide the medium that they're using. So I love to see chunky brushwork in paintings. I love Daniel Sprick, someone who like has a beautiful portrait, but when they get in the hair, it just turns into this chunky mess.
Yeah.
And like, how do you turn that into a tattoo? Like,
right.
And so if you just identify with something instantly, like I'm a neo-trad guy, it's like, well, you discounted so many subtleties in there.
Yeah, and you've got a long time to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I always tell people try everything because it's just going to add to your arsenal of tricks.
Yeah.
So, and, you know, you don't got to dive into color portraits for a year, but, you know, mess around on your friend a little bit or yourself a little bit. Try to figure some stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's another reason why I'm so glad I started when I started tattooing, because we had to go get a magazine from a store, and it was, Aaron Kane, Gunner, Guy, Paul Booth. And it was like a smaller little thing to like, I like what these guys are doing. This is where the industry is going. But now everybody's doing something else. And it's just crazy. Like, it was nice back then. I really liked it. So.
I agree, man. The sample set or the pool was a little bit smaller, but you did get a clear idea of where people were going.
Yeah.
The photos weren't great. You know,
Right.
It was a completely different. I'll never forget. Do you know a guy named Randy Muller that tattooed out of? He was a big tattooer in the '90s. He's out of New Orleans. And then in the early 2000s, whenever Katrina was, he tattooed at our shop in Memphis for a while. And he had gone up to Guy's space when he was still outside at Deluxe, outside of Chicago. And he had gotten this skull that was kind of a cave, like the mouth of the skull was open, and it was this whole calf. And he showed up at like midnight at the shop after he'd gotten tattooed all day, drove to Memphis. And I remember looking at that piece, and I'd seen Guys' tattoos in magazines.
Yeah.
And I remember just being like, that doesn't even look like a real tattoo to me. It had all these these off tones, ochres and whites and gnarly little like knurls and things. And I was just like, it changed my entire world.
Right.
I had no idea what was possible in tattooing until then.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. I got to see it from like a real tattoo-looking thing into like, I went to a convention early on and saw a Guy tattoo and Paul Booth and some of these other guys, and I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
It changed what you thought was possible at that point. And that magic I don't think exists anymore because of you have people that are, the Tattoo Truth Fairy is showing all the time how people are like really pushing tattoos to such an extreme that they're not believable.
Right.
And we had the exact opposite experience where it looked awesome in a magazine, and then when you saw it in real life, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, that was dope.
Yeah.
Love it.
So awesome. So, man, I know you got to go judge, but I thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So if people wanted to get tattooed, keep up with you, how far are you booking out at home? What do you?
Yeah, so at home I try to keep my schedule like a couple weeks out.
Yeah.
So just a couple weeks.
Okay.
Where it used to be a year, and I just got tired of it. My daughter had something going on. I got a tattoo because I got this person flying in or whatever. So it just got to be a different kind of stress that I didn't really want. So couple weeks now. You want to get tattooed? Shoot me an email a couple weeks beforehand, and I'll get you in.
Awesome. And we'll drop Scotty's contact info in the show notes. But man, thanks so much. I'm glad to finally catch up. I've always really liked your work a lot.
Thank you. Yeah, me as well. I saw some stuff you did. It was amazing.
Oh, thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you guys for supporting what we do. We really appreciate it. Thank you to Roughrider. We got some more shows coming up from here, and we'll see you next time.